चीनले छोटो समयमै मुलुकको आर्थिक विकासमा हासिल गरेको उपलब्धि विश्वमै निकै उदाहरणीय मानिन्छ। केही वर्षकै अन्तरालमा चीनले भेट्टाएको यो उपलब्धि छिमेकी मुलुकका नाताले नेपाल जस्तो आर्थिक रूपमा विपन्न मुलुकका लागि पनि अनुकरणीय हुन सक्छ। यही कुरालाई मध्यनजर गर्दै चीनले हासिल गरेको आर्थिक उपलब्धिबाट नेपालले सिक्न सक्ने पाठका विषयमा छलफल गर्न हालै राजधानी काठमाडौँमा एक अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रमको आयोजना गरियो। विगत लामो समयदेखि आर्थिक क्षेत्रमा विभिन्न किसिमका अध्ययन अनुसन्धान गर्दै आइरहेको सर्वाङ्गीण विकास अध्ययन केन्द्र IIDS ले नियमित वार्षिक कार्यक्रम अन्तर्गत यो अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रमको आयोजना गरेको थियो। कार्यक्रममा प्रमुख अतिथिका रूपमा नेशनल स्कुल अफ डेभलपमेन्ट अफिस चीनका अर्थशास्त्री प्रोफेसर झ्याङ जिहाओ रहनु भएको थियो। कार्यक्रममा बोल्दै प्रोफेसर जिहाओले नेपालमा आर्थिक विकासका प्रशस्तै सम्भावना रहेको बताउँदै यसका लागि चीनले छोटो समयमा हासिल गरेका उपलब्धिबाट नेपालले धेरै कुरा सिक्न सक्ने बताउनुभयो।
From my personal experience, I grew up in a rural village before 10 years old. At that time, we had a common production system. We couldn't eat meat at all, except of the Chinese New Year for a few days. So we didn't eat fruit because I grew up in northern part of China. We didn't grow like tropical fruit. I didn't see banana until 11 years old. So you can think about at that time, most people live under poverty. We are struggling with their daily life. But now if you go to China, in particular go to big cities, it's more like New York City or London. So China definitely has grown very fast in the last 3 or 4 decades. Not in terms of per capita GDP, China is now the GDP is nearly $8,000. It has increased by more than 20 times since 1978. More than 600 million people have escaped from poverty. So my lecturer want to answer: are there any like stories behind the rapid rise in the Chinese economy? So my outline of the presentation includes 4 parts. I will start with a brief review of the Chinese development strategies during the planned economic era, so you can get some background information where China started from. And then I will talk about the several major economic reforms, including rural reform, price reform, opening up, and decentralization, to illustrate some of the reform logic, some logics behind of these reforms. Your payoff was not aligned with your effort. By the end of the year, your reward is based on how many days you worked, but not based on how much effort you put into the work. So when we went to the almost every day, children, women, elderly, everybody had to go to work. And then when we went to the farm, everybody just stood there chatting to each other. Nobody really worked hard.
उक्त अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रममा नेपालका विभिन्न क्षेत्रमा क्रियाशील अर्थशास्त्री तथा सरकारवालाहरूको समेत उपस्थिति थियो।
Talk about the context. There are so many things that are different between China and our society. Even the distance, if we talk about, most of the development in China is taking place in the East Coast, and of course we are quite far from there. Even as previous speaker said about people-to-people relation, still it's not that dense that we can see in other parts. I have two sort of queries. One, of course, China's beauty is that it has actually humbled the economists' arrogance, right? Now, it has challenged the established some of the theories that you can go with some formula and then implement it. So the beauty, as I can draw from your lecture, is that you keep on experimenting on what you have in the context that you are supposed to develop the policy, and then upscale it.
Other institutes also have taken an initiative in inviting and allowing for interaction. That is a welcome step, but it needs to be augmented and perhaps more frequently than has been in the past. I would like this to be noted not only by Nepali scholars and you and your colleagues, but also by the Chinese government, because we in Nepal find less than adequate know-how and knowledge, and intimacy between our closest neighbor. Himalaya is no longer a barrier, as we are beginning to prove now.
If I go out of this room and would like to remember what are the key aspects I draw from Professor Zhang's presentation, I think three things come to my mind. First and foremost is that if we are really serious about economic growth and income distribution, basically poverty alleviation, agriculture has got to be the key sector to initiate. Chinese experiences of other countries clearly show that agriculture has got to be taking a pilot role in terms of bringing out issues that our farmers, agriculturists face in the country.
सर्वाङ्गीण विकास अध्ययन केन्द्र IIDS का निर्देशक डाक्टर विष्णुदेव पन्तले कार्यक्रमको उद्देश्यका बारेमा चर्चा गर्नुभएको थियो।
IIDS has started its flagship publication titled Nepal Economic Outlook annually, which analyzes the state of Nepal's economy and makes policy suggestions and recommendations to policymakers on how to accelerate economic growth in Nepal. IIDS also brings out a number of policy briefs and working paper series on important economic and social issues. To foster debate and discussion on important and cross-cutting issues of concern to Nepal among policymakers, academia, as well as the general public, IIDS has started the Distinguished Speaker series since last year. To that end, IIDS strives to bring prominent personalities from the world of academia in South Asia to share their insights on important and cross-cutting issues, as well as to learn from experience of other countries. Today's topic is very relevant for Nepal. Nepal's economic performance has been generally sluggish over the years, despite important reforms made during 1990s and early 2000s. GDP per capita is still one of the lowest in the region. Despite lackluster growth, there has been significant decline in poverty level from 40% in 1996 to about 25% in 2009-2010, primarily because of increasing remittance flow to the country in recent years. During 1990s and early 2000s, annual average GDP growth rate was around 5%.